Nicholas, I'm really looking forward to finding out more about what a family prosperity advisor is, but I guess the first question is, what is the issue? What's the problem with family wealth?
It's a great question, Alistair. Thank you for asking. So the fundamental issue with families are that over 70% of families will lose their wealth within just 2 generations, and more than 90% of families will lose their wealth within 3 generations. And it's irrespective of how much wealth there is. You're never too big to fail. And why is that an issue? And why is that backed by research? Not me saying this, backed by world-renowned research. The fact remains there's a lack of understanding of the fundamental problems that cause multi-generational family failure. So you're well aware, I'm assuming, of what we classify as traditional professional advice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So by that aspect, I'm talking about, your accountants, your lawyers, your financial advisors, bankers, trustees, etc. And most wealthy families will have these in place. So irrespective of having all these world-renowned, phenomenal advisors, why do families still fail over multiple generations? Well, quite simply it being that these advisors do not deal with the fundamental aspects and the causes of family wealth or family multi-generational failure, as we call it. So the main reasons why families fail is mainly for communication. So this is based on, I should go back a step, this is based on research that was done over 25 years, looking at 3,250 families and backed by research such as the Forbes magazine that looked at families in 2014, the world's richest families. So 60% of families on this research were uncovered that they failed because of communication, because of poor communication. And what does that mean? That means poor communication essentially leads to mistrust within a family. Mistrust within a family leads to emotional breakdown, and emotional breakdown, of course, leads to financial breakdown or financial failure. So that's 60%. It's a staggering statistic. Now, 25% of those families failed because of lack of preparing the heirs. So that is essentially teaching the heirs, teaching the next generation what it takes to succeed financially. That's 25%. A further 10% of families fail because of a lack of vision, or what we call a inspiring, purposeful vision. And only 5% of those families failed for what can be classified as other reasons. And what I mean by other reasons, that's when you get into the poor financial advice, poor investment advice, or the odd story that you read sometimes in the tabloids whereby the accountant ran off with the money. Yeah. But it's only 5%. Yet 99.9% of professional advisors out in the market today, what do they focus on? The 5%. Where we come in as family professional advisors, and what the Charles Group is focusing on the 95% of the issues out there.
So give me some examples of what services are included in that 95%.
The most important aspect is we focus on where the family is today. What are the problems that are affecting the families today? And we run a very detailed diagnostic test looking at all the risks that are inherent within that particular family. Because I'm sure you can appreciate this. There's no such thing as one size fits all. Every family is different. Talking multiple personalities, different numbers, and even the question that we sometimes ask our clients, that we always ask our clients, is, who do you consider to be your family? That provides amazing answers and completely different contrasting responses. So you can never assume who can be classified as within the family for any particular client that we deal with. So essentially find out, where are we today? First, it's understand before being understood.
Yeah. So
we run a family diagnostic, and then from the family diagnostic we highlight the issues within the family, and that could be focusing back on essentially the 4 fundamentals. Is there poor communication with the family? Do they have a vision? What are the current training processes for the next generation? Do they have sustainable philanthropy? And what's the communication like between the family and their existing advisors? So we look at that in extreme depth. Now, following on from that, we then have what is known as a family day. So that is literally a board meeting where we facilitate a board meeting amongst the family members. And why do we do that? Because remember we said earlier, the number one issue that families fail, poor communication. So that's the first aspect that we deal with families. We ensure that the families have effective communication amongst the family members. And that's essentially our starting point. And from there, we'll, of course, once we get a better understanding of the family, we'll develop a bespoke program specifically for that family. But until the first two things are done, there's no point even talking about the wonderful in-depth strategies that we can help the families, such as working with them to create a purposeful vision, some training for the next generation, maybe some mentorship even for the next generation, setting up sustainable philanthropic services for that family, or even setting up a philanthropic arm for that particular family. And of course, eventually we'll set up what we classify as an AGM, annual general meeting, which is essentially an annual meeting between the family and its chosen family members and their advisors. We sit them down to a nice round table and we get some accountability, whereby we facilitate communication of the family's vision to the advisors and make them accountable to make sure that they're helping the family achieve whatever their vision may be.